Greetings, people on the YouTube. It's Multiplier here, filling your brains with information related to whatever I've decided to tell you. In this case, headphones versus monitors. Headphones versus monitors. Headphones versus monitors. Monitors versus headphones. Monitors versus headphones. A battle to the death. A question I get asked all the time is, should I produce on headphones or monitors for electronic music, dance music, the dubsteps? And the winner is headphones. Who would have thought that? Me, because it's my question and I know the answer. These sort of things, you know, with the wires and stuff that you stick on your head. Yeah, these are what I recommend over those which are speakers or monitors. Call them what you like. And yeah, how do you feel about that? Headphones? Are you stoked? So stoked. Headphones are stoked on winning. But yes, why do I recommend headphones? It's nice and simple. You hear much more detail in headphones than you do in monitors. Let's say you spend $200 on some headphones. It could be these guys I keep throwing away, which is over into the distance. HD25s from Sennheiser. It could be these or DT770 Pros or pretty much any reasonably popular set of standard production headphones. If you take a $200 set of headphones like this, you will hear more detail in these than you do on a set of speakers or monitors that cost $1,000. And if you put those monitors in a special room, configured correctly, pointing at your ears with acoustic treatment and honeys in the back and all of that dealios. It's just the nature of how headphones work. Headphones pump the sound directly into your brain via the ears without any distractions. It literally goes bloop straight into your ear face hole. The brain bit. Whereas monitors, what happens is you're sitting in the room, the sound goes, yes, a bit of the sound goes into your ears, although via the air. So you get a bit from here, bit from here, bit from here, bit from here. But it's also bouncing off the roof, going into your brain. It's bouncing off the walls, going into your brain. It's bouncing off the table. It's bouncing off the floor, off anything else in the room. Maybe you have a plant in the room. It's bouncing off that. The plant smashes it back. It's literally everything. The sound just bounces around. It's just a fact of life. When you're hearing sound coming from speakers in a room, you're not just hearing the sound, you're hearing the speakers throwing some of the sound into your brain, and then a bit of the sound bounces around the room and then goes into your brain, and then a bit of the other sound goes somewhere else in the room, bounces into your brain. So you're actually hearing the room almost more than you're hearing the direct sound source. So let me give you an example. In fact, let me give you the best example, and that is reverb. If you've ever listened to reverb through headphones, you would know that you can hear the most nuanced bit of detail, and you can choose 10 different reverb presets, and each of those reverbs will sound completely different, even if you're just in one reverb plugin. However, if you then hop through those same presets through monitors, all of a sudden you're like, what's going on there? Where's the reverb? I mean, I can hear there's reverb, but I can't hear it in the same level of detail. What is going on? I'm going to go watch more multiply videos. However, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, if headphones give you much better detail than monitors, why does anybody use monitors? Why doesn't everyone just use headphones? Or why don't people wear 2 sets of headphones? Then you'll hear twice as much detail. The short answer is they're different. Monitors are a different experience to headphones. If you've ever listened to, say, dubstep through a 20-foot speaker stack at a rave, it's a totally different vibe to listening to dubstep through headphones, because through headphones, yes, you hear more detail and it sounds nice and detailed, and that can be great, but the air in the room isn't vibrating in the same way. So you don't have that whole body vibration thing happening. Not sure what was going on with my arms there, but that is what happens if you've ever listened to not just dubstep, but any dance music through big speakers or even just a reasonable set of monitors. It's shaking all the air in the room with those bass frequencies, and as a result, it's vibrating the air, and it's almost like the bass is giving you a hug, and I quite like that. Other people quite like it too. And you just don't get that same experience through headphones. Therefore, whenever you're producing on headphones, you have to imagine what that sound you're hearing is going to sound like through proper speakers, because yes, you can hear down to 25 hertz or so through headphones, headphones, but you're not experiencing 25 hertz or 40 hertz in the same way as you would be if you were listening on speakers or a massive PA speaker system. In fact, you can extend it further because cars will play back sounds in a different way to, say, monitors, which will play back sounds in a different way to, say, laptop speakers. And people listen on all these different devices, so you have to build your track accordingly so that your musical ideas translate on all these different playback devices. Makes sense? If it doesn't, listen to a few of your favorite tracks on lots of different playback devices, laptops, computer monitors, proper monitors if you can, headphones, good headphones, bad headphones, inside your car, wherever, in the club even if you fancy. Listen to your favorite tracks on all these different playback devices and try and understand the differences between all those different playback devices and how the song translates in different ways. Because when you're making a track, you want to make sure that that track conveys all the musical ideas it needs to do through as many different playback devices as it possibly can. You want to make sure that your dope dubstep tune rattles the ceiling and stuff in the club, whilst also sounding okay enough through laptop speakers, because lots of people listen on laptop speakers which don't sound very good. Lots of people listen on their phones through Apple headphones or just free headphones, whatever. And then there'll also be people who listen on amazing headphones, and you want to make sure that your track is interesting through amazing headphones, which doesn't reproduce that sub bass in the same way as, say, a speaker stack. So you have to try and get your track working through as many different playback devices as you can. And therefore, if you understand as much as possible what that track is doing, in other words, hearing as much detail as possible using headphones, if you hear all that detail and you know exactly what's going on in that track, you can then translate in your brain how that track will translate to other speaker systems. Makes sense? And it's for that reason why I like to sometimes do my songwriting through monitors. If it's not a sound design focused genre, let's say it's all about melody and bass and rhythm and stuff, I might do my songwriting through monitors so I experience the track through monitors, through a proper speaker system, shaking the air in the room and just sounding a bit more impressive. But then when it comes to sound design and mixing and mastering, I use my headphones because I can hear that idea in a lot more detail. I then have to just imagine what it's going to sound like through other speaker systems. But let me now tell you something more advanced or nuanced, something that I don't hear many people talking about. And that is headphones are typically very, very dry. You don't hear much distortion from the headphones, you hear no reverb at all, whereas the same sound played through monitors or speakers is going to sound a lot wetter. You're going to hear reverb from the room. And if it's let's say it's a big PA system in a club, you're probably going to hear some distortions from the PA system too. It's something noisier we're talking about, which I think is incredibly poignant. Astute, maybe? Learning words with multiplier. Anyway, the upshot of this is if you're making music primarily for DJs to play back on the dance floor, in the club, main stage EDC, Skrillex, Coachella, you don't have to add much reverb or distortion to your track because the actual environment will do all that distortion and reverb for you. The DJ is probably going to be running the mixer into the red, which is distorting the sound. The sound tech's going to be turning up the volume on the speakers, so they're going to distort too. You got distortion out the mixer, distortion out the speakers, and then the sound comes out the speakers, and then the actual space itself is going to be the reverb for the track. So you don't need to add reverb yourself because it's already being added by the space when it's played back. In fact, if you do add reverb, it's not going to work out very well because that reverb's going to go into the reverb of the actual space the DJ is playing at, and then it's going to be all washed out and it's going to be like a sea of noise and it's going to be all just like that, and you don't want that in your tracks. This is why lots of house and techno sounds quite dry. It's because it's designed to be played by DJs at da club. And what does this actually mean to you, the person using headphones? It means if you're making tracks for da club or for DJs to play, the track may sound quite dry, quite uninteresting through headphones, but then you have to know that when a DJ is playing it back for the honeys doing twerking and ting, it won't sound dry. It will sound wet because of how that sound is played back through the mixer, through the speakers, and in the actual venue. Make sense? Yes, it does. So get yourself some sufficiently good headphones, maybe $200, $300. And then once you have those, you can get some monitors if you want, but don't use them to do your sound design and mixing because you can't hear as much detail. They work great as an additional reference or for songwriting, but for doing that detailed mixing and sound design stuff, you need some headphones. But yeah, that is the video complete. I've been multiplier, headphones versus monitors. If you have any video suggestions, stick it in a comment below, or if you have any thoughts on the solar system or space, I'm also interested to hear what you think about that. So stick all that in the comments below. I'll see you next time.